I tend to agree with you on the part of education. However, I'm just thinking out loud. Do you think education and learning are the same thing? Do you think we need to learn more than... Education is just one of the ways we can learn.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And as much as possible, it's one of the structured way we can learn.
Absolutely.
And I am totally behind a structured way of learning. But don't you think now that we're in the era of Coursera, TED Talks, YouTube, do you think we should foster other means of learning rather than having a formal and paperwork kind of education?
Absolutely. There's many different types of learning. I mean, the education system is one. I would argue when I was in university, half of what I learned was not in the classroom.
Exactly.
Right? It was living with my roommates and figuring out how do we deal with our disagreements when she didn't clean the bathroom and I just did it last week. You know, things like that. How do you deal with conflict resolution? How do you? Those are things that are learned that nobody necessarily teaches you, but your sort of circumstances in your environment and life sometimes enable that.
I agree with you, but you're talking as what the basic foundation of your career is anthropologist. We anthropologists are known to think things out. You're known to have facts. You're known to have evidence. So anything, even conflict resolution, you'll use information, and I think that's where your background came from, and I think it's one of the things that enabled you to surge through this career.
Well, I mean, it's also ability to think creatively and to problem solve, and those are things that the education system doesn't enable. And at the end of the day, I mean, like I have 2 children. I spend 8-10 hours of my life at work. I get home in time for bedtime, right? So where are they spending most of their time? In school, right? So yes, I mean, learning does come from home, and it comes from, your environment and your family. And at the end of the day, I think, as I said, some of these things are changing. Culturally, I think parents are beginning to recognize the benefits to beyond just having a piece of paper that's a degree. And I think the more that happens, the more you'll start to see this youth begin to flourish. I think, I mean, not necessarily related to entrepreneurship, but from an American perspective, I mean, I started working at 16. I got my first job at 16. And in developed economies, it's very easy for young people to get a job. You start earning your own money, you have responsibilities, you decide how you're going to spend that money. And in Kenya, there's very limited opportunities for youth to get any, formal employment. It's very difficult. So I think that also is sort of a challenge that sort of prevents them from that growth from an early age. So, I used to work with an organization that did innovation challenges for primary school kids here in Kenya. And that was phenomenal, because even if these kids don't do anything with the ideas that they started, it was an opportunity for them to think strategically about how could I start something. And some of them were, feeding rabbits. There was a kid, he was 13 years old. He had I don't know how many rabbits, and he was selling meat and urine and fertilizer and all these things. He was 13 years old.
13 years old.
I mean, that's just a kid who's got a lot of motivation and a supportive environment for him to start rearing rabbits. And if more youth have that opportunity, we will not have to worry about unemployment or the youth bulge or things like that. But I think a lot of that, part of it will happen at school, a lot of it will happen at home and with the values you're raised in.
That was quite information. Going back to impact investment. That's I think one of the things that I want us to major on. Can you tell me how, in your own experience, the evolution of social enterprise to impact investing has been in the last 7 years? Because I remember when back in 2014, when we were starting the Sankalp event, you were one few people who were the first one. We came as an incubator, and we have seen social enterprise and not-for-profit activities and even impact investment grow to a tremendous level that we have to acknowledge. That's one of the main ways of solution providing systems in the country. Tell us the evolution of the two, impact investment and social enterprises.
Yeah. I think they really go hand in hand. I don't think we can divide social entrepreneurship from impact investment. 7 years ago, when I first started working in this space here, it was very much, there weren't so many investors, there were a handful. Many of them, you know, some of them had offices here in Nairobi, a number of them had offices internationally. There were a handful of accelerators and incubators, and even that environment, they were sort of very competitive.
Yeah.
I think that, but the sense that I got was the incubators, a lot of them were sort of fighting for the same entrepreneurs,
Exactly.
right? And it was more
Of tech.
yes, and they were also trying to do everything for everyone.
Exactly.
Over the last 7 years, the acceleration and incubation community has matured tremendously. There are now sector-focused incubators. There are ones that are focused only on health, ones that are only focused on agriculture, ones that are only focused on youth initiatives. So you see this diversity, and the value that brings is you're actually giving not generic information to everyone.
Exactly.
It's specific to whether you're in ag tech or whether you're in med tech, whether you're in housing. There's a housing accelerator now. And that evolution has really been beautiful to see. Now there's even an industry for enablers and incubators. It's called ASEC. That never would have happened 7 years ago because the ecosystem simply wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And the acceleration community has also, I think, focused on specific stages of entrepreneurs, right? From an idea to an investment. There's a very long journey in between, and entrepreneurs need very different things along that journey. So no one can do everything for everyone. It's simply too much. And over the last several years, I've seen the accelerator community really define their own market niche.
Yeah.
There's not that sense of competition anymore. It's much more collaborative.
Yeah.
On the investment side of things, I think there's a lot more money that's flowing in for investments. I think globally, investors are looking at Africa as the next frontier, or the last frontier, I don't know. But impact investing has gone beyond investors.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing. A lot of nonprofits, NGOs, very traditional aid-based organizations have also started either accelerators, they've started investment funds. They are also looking at impact investing and entrepreneurship as a way to sustainable development, because they recognize also what they've been doing for the last 50 years of aid in Africa is not getting us anywhere, and it's not sustainable. So that's also been a very interesting evolution, that it's not just investors who are investing. There are so many NGOs are investing now, even corporations. They are starting their own investment funds to start infusing and building their particular sectors. People like Johnson & Johnson and Microsoft, and even some of these banks, local banks have started their own initiatives. So it's grown to be an incredibly diverse pool of investors in that impact investing community.
Talking about investment, so far we have FDI, that's foreign direct investment in startup industry, in the startup sector. We are doing it around $200 million by only in 2020. That's not something to joke about. It's $200 million, I suppose, if I'm correct, and that's around 20 billion only in sector-specific startup and tech in Africa. We know that some startups in Nigeria have raised funds, Kenya have raised funds, and of course, you know, Sankalp is one of the major events that in the last 7 years have been very consistent in bringing all these stakeholders together. Are we going to double the money?
I can only hope. Maybe we'll quadruple the money in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only going to increase.
Yeah.
It's only going to increase. I think, especially, this is the start, and I think it's back to the snowball effect.
Yeah.
The more people who are investing, we haven't seen. There have been a few successful exits.
Yeah.
Once more of those take off, the money will start coming in even more. I mean, I think there have been some strategic buyouts that haven't been so great. The posting of, Jumia on the stock exchange sort of created a lot of hype, but didn't go very well.
Yeah.
So I think people are still watching.
Yeah.
I think the investment that have been coming in are people who are pioneers in that sense. but we need to see more local investment.
Yeah.
There's most of the investment that's coming in is foreign. And that's not helping the economy here because the payouts are going back to Europe or the US or wherever they came from. Those returns are not going to stay in the country here. We need more local pension funds investing in local businesses. We need more local angel investors investing in businesses. Because when those people make money, they're going to invest again.
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you. We need more angel investors, local angel. But it's still a new term, and as you have said, it's still a snowball effect. However, looking at the numbers, the number three, foreign money coming to Africa, we have identified this as foreign, which is doing very badly. It's at the least of the table. The number two is foreign direct investments. That it's there and it's doing good. I was shocked when I learned that actually the leading finances of African activity are remittances from abroad. How do we, since this particular people, this particular group of individuals have already established and are willing to send money back, is it possible we tap into this so that they can inform the locals and the people, so that they can form the funds and other angel investors that is actually well if we invest?
Absolutely.
And if that's the path that we're going to take, what are measures are you putting together so that we can ensure that we have, one, more pension funds as you said, two, we can have local insurances and local funds and local angel investors, people with medium net worth to high net worth can put simple, simple dollars or simple coins just to the initiative that youths and women and other entrepreneurs are trying to do. What measures are you putting to ensure that going forward we do not highly depend on foreign direct investment?
Yeah. So I think on the remittances side, it's a huge pool of money. I think that has historically not been channeled necessarily effectively, and I think there's a couple of reasons behind that. One is there's a lot of fraud.
Yeah.
So you don't actually and I have a number of friends who are diaspora Kenyan who are living abroad. They don't know where to put their money because they don't know who to trust.
Yeah.
They haven't been here in many years, they don't necessarily know, so it's only going to go to the family and the people you would trust to do the same.
What do you tell them? They're watching. What are you telling them?
So
should they come to the Sankalp Forum?
They should come to Sankalp. They should join. I mean, there are networks of angel investors. There is a symposium that actually happens in the US. It's called the Africa Diaspora Investment Symposium. That's really mobilizing the diaspora around this. And I think what would be helpful for the diaspora, and there are a few initiatives that are working on it, we're not working on it specifically, but really looking at how can you provide a structure that's vetting some of these things such that the diaspora have that level of comfort that their money is going towards the right thing. So there are investment opportunities, it's just that it's difficult to manage your investments 10,000 miles away. So structures need to be established, and there was an organization who was doing this based out of DC that was providing sort of a platform for diaspora with vetted projects and initiatives and businesses that they could invest in. There are also organizations that are launching crowdfunding platforms that are for equity. So it's not like you're just giving money away on a crowd platform, but that you're actually getting some shares in that company. That's a great opportunity for diaspora as well.
As you see,